Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you'll hear crazy stories about people who believe they can do whatever they want because they're special. Guys, I hope you're having an awesome day today, and before we get into the stories, you guys gotta see this. So apparently a doctor posted this on social media saying, "Don't eat or drink anything after midnight." This was said before his 3-year-old daughter's surgery the next morning. While intubating his daughter the next morning, she vomited scrambled eggs, causing her to aspirate them into her lungs. Her heart stopped, and I did chest compressions on her for 25 minutes. We got her back, aborted the surgery, and transferred her to pediatric ICU on a ventilator. Her father's response was, "She said she was hungry. I thought you were being too hard on her. It must have been something you did to her." Just great. Don't listen to a medical professional, do what you want, and then put the blame on them. Listen, guys. As a parent, I'd rather deal with a hungry kid for a few hours than having something going terribly wrong during surgery and potentially losing them. That poor girl. Guys, if you think that was ridiculous and entitled, wait until you hear the stories in this episode, guys. So the first story, OP teaches his mother-in-law a lesson. The second story, and the one you're here for, a Karen and her family think it's okay to park wherever they want. The third, OP tells a story about his tenants, and we'll finish up with a Karen at the dentist. My friends, buckle up because we're diving in, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future stories. So, I'm married to a wonderful woman. She's smart, she's funny, and very kind. Her mother's generally very nice and tends to have a great attitude and be very enjoyable, but a bit of a prude. She can also be a bit entitled and is a major snoop. If my wife leaves her phone sitting around, she'll just pick it up and start going through it. My wife has kind of laughed this off as a remnant of her mom being controlling when she was a kid. Now, I'm not a fan of this because my wife and I will sometimes text about a thing that simply doesn't involve her mother, and I don't feel that's her business at all. So over Christmas, I saw my wife set her phone down on the kitchen counter and had a brilliant idea. Her mom was still in the kitchen, and I sent my wife the most explicit text about all the nasty things I was gonna do to her when everybody left. Honestly, most of them are things we haven't even done, but I had to make it extra scarring to, teach her mom a lesson. I sent this text from the bathroom, and maybe it was my imagination, but I swear I could hear an audible gasp after her phone went off. When I left the bathroom, her mother absolutely would not look me in the eye. Then not so discreetly asked her daughter to come talk to her in the other room. When my wife came back into the living room, I thought she'd been crying. However, upon closer inspection, she was laughing. Her mother had questioned her about me, and if I was basically using her as a slave in the bedroom, and if I always talked down to her like that. My wife told her kindly that what we do alone is between us and us only. Probably the best gift this Christmas. The best part about this story is the fact that the daughter did not deny any of it, guys. She just told her mom what happened in the bedroom was their business only. Hopefully the mom does stay away from her daughter's phone after that, and it didn't spark some sort of weird curiosity. I used to live on the bottom floor of a 2-story house, in a very popular beach town in North Carolina. I was in my mid-20s. The upstairs was rented to 4 college guys, so 5 people and 5 cars on the driveway, built for 4. So one of us would either be on the grass or in a paid parking spot. It wasn't really a big deal, but finding a spot in the middle of summer was hard. The house is maybe a 5-minute walk to the beach. I would leave work at around 6:30 a.m. and return around 5 or 6 p.m. By the time I get home, most of the crowds would be gone, so a paid spot was easy for me to get. I would typically leave the driveway for the upstairs guys. So one day, I was running late and didn't get out of my house until nearly 8 o'clock. The other guys have left and the driveway was empty. I'm walking out to my car, and of course, the lots are already 90% full or more from people going to the beach. As I'm crossing the street, I see a minivan come up and pull into my driveway. I didn't recognize it, so I waited to see if I knew them or they knew the upstairs guys. Out steps a polo shirt, visor-wearing dad, and an overly peppy mom with 3 screaming kids. Obviously no one I know. They look like they were here to enjoy the beach 100%. I wanted to make sure, so I backtrack up and said, "Hey, excuse me, do you know the tenants upstairs or have permission to park here?" Karen says, "It doesn't matter. No one's parked here. They're probably at work and we have to get to the beach." I told her there's 5 people living here, myself included, and we need to be able to park if somebody were to come home early, etc. Karen then says, "Oh, so where's your car if you live here?" I told her in that spot because I have a pass. One of the people who live in the building upstairs usually parks here. Karen then says, Listen, you're off to work. The guys upstairs are at work. So we're gonna park here and you can do whatever you want. You're not even using the space. The lots are full and my children have to get to the beach. You don't want to ruin their day, do you? I told her, okay then, if you park here, I'll just have you towed and you can deal with it later. Karen then gets in my face and says, try it and see. So I went to my car and waited until they were pretty much at the beach. And then I go inside, look up a tow service on the other side of town and said, hey, I'd like to report a car illegally parked on my property. My address is this, etc., etc. I then called my boss, told him I'm not going to be in today, and explained what happened. Since he's a pretty easygoing guy, he told me to keep him informed. The tow truck arrives and tows the van away. I leave my car on the spot and wait. It's 10:30 a.m. Sometime around 2 or 3 p.m., there's a very angry knock at my door. I'm thinking, this is going to be fun. Imagine the shock when I answered the door. I asked, can I help you? Karen says, where is our van? I told her, yeah, you remember when I said that you can't park here because you don't live here and you ignored my warning? I said that you'd be towed, and then you said, try it and see. Here's the card. I had it towed across town. I then shut the door in her face, and obviously, they didn't just go away. They kept knocking again and again, and I could hear the dad threatening to beat me up and have me arrested and jailed. So the next 20 minutes are more angry knocking and yelling. Finally, about 4 p.m.-ish, I see some blue lights. They called the cops. I answer the door and see that it's a familiar policeman I know who does patrols around the area often. I said, oh, hey Garrett, how's it going? He says, good. These people say you stole their van? I told him no. They pulled into the driveway as I was leaving for work, and I confronted them saying that they can't park in these spots, so I had them towed. The dad chimes in, storming up behind the officer, saying that this is ridiculous, blah blah blah. He's now shoving past the officer and working his way into my house to get to me. Garrett's able to pull him out and manages to get him pressed up against his cop car. He tells the guy that he's trespassing now, and he looks over to me asking if I would like to press charges. I told him no, but can you keep him in your car until they get a cab? I give my statement, went inside, grabbed a beer, and went out the back door. I sat there smiling until a cab came at about 5:30. Now, I'm pretty sure this is common sense and doesn't need to be said, but if it's not your driveway, don't park in it. The fact that they felt entitled to park there just because OP wasn't home or the tenants weren't home is just ridiculous. And they came back almost 6 hours later, and then they called the cops. How did they think they were gonna win that one? So, I'm a landlord. I used to live paycheck to paycheck and work 2 jobs most of my 20s and 30s. I finally saved up enough to invest in some real estate. I flipped a couple of properties and turned my second job into working for myself, and now at 50 years old, I own a few rental units, but still work a full-time job. Now, I get the working class, and what it's like to struggle to have a place to live. My mother was single and raised me and my brother, and she struggled too. So as a landlord, I tend to be soft on people that were just like me at one time. I rented an apartment to a single mother. At first, it was a couple, but the husband left for whatever reasons, and then it was just her and the baby. She couldn't pay rent on time because she only got paid once per month. So I gave a little grace and changed the due date to the 7th and never charged her a late fee, as long as she paid by the 15th. This woman could barely afford food or utilities after her rent was paid, so I put in ceiling fans in the unit to help keep it cool, and had an old washer and dryer set from an older unit that I installed into hers so she could wash her clothes. My wife also would sometimes babysit for her, and we also made sure that she had diapers for baby and food. In one of the other units was a couple, the entitled ones. The husband worked and she stayed home. When they had a baby, I sent them a card with a $50 gift certificate and wished them well. And I was not prepared for the response. They immediately took my kind gesture as weakness, and they wanted to renegotiate the rent. They also wanted a brand new washer and dryer, ceiling fans, and complained that the $50 gift certificate was not even enough to cover diapers and formula for a month, and that I should give them more. So I ignored her, but then rent started to come in late. After my letters were ignored, I made a courtesy call. She was upset that I would ask her to pay rent on time when the other tenants could pay it on the 15th with no late fees. She was still demanding a washer and dryer, and not the old, used ones either. The woman also said that I owed her for a few months of utilities, since I didn't furnish them with ceiling fans like I did other units. Everything I had done for the single mother in the other unit, she felt entitled to, and that I owed her. Again, I ignored her and sent a demand for rent. on time or pay the late fees. A few months later, I'm on the property doing quarterly inspections, and the single mother would not even look me in the eye. She doesn't want to let me into the unit and is acting very odd. So I call my wife over and we ask to sit down and talk. It takes some effort, but the single mother finally told us that she heard from the other neighbor that I don't like her, how she was one of the worst tenants ever, and how apparently I wished her gone because I could make more money by charging late fees on a different person. She also said that the neighbor told her that I said that I was only being kind because I wanted something from her. I was livid. I calmly explained that none of this was true, that I loved helping her, and the reason that I was helping her was that I was raised by a single mother and I was just paying it forward. I also told the single mother about all the demands that crazy tenant made with the rent and the appliances, and the single mother was shocked. I chose not to renew the lease for the crazy woman. The single mother stayed a few more years before meeting someone, and then she moved in with him. I still help the folks that struggle, but I'm very careful not to do too much, or else it causes rumors and problems. So, can I just start off by saying that the landlord sounds like such a good-hearted person? Guys, being entitled is one thing, but when you don't get your way and you start to become conniving and you try to hurt somebody because they get something that you don't is pretty crazy. I feel so bad for that single mother who was basically manipulated into thinking that she was a horrible tenant because she couldn't afford to pay rent on time and was barely able to scrape by. I'm so glad OP did not renew the lease for that entitled tenant. So, I'm a dental assistant for a private practice. Let me just preface this by saying that most of our patients are wonderful people. They're friendly, they're happy to see us, they respect our professional opinions and recommendations, etc. But literally, just 3 hours ago, I had the biggest Karen in for what should have been a simple appointment. So when we do crowns, we prep the tooth beforehand and take an impression. Then that impression goes to a lab and the techs there make a crown. It takes 2 to 3 weeks for them to send the crown back. When we deliver the crown to the patient, the doctor and I try the crown first to see how it fits. It's very rare that it fits perfectly. We almost always have to make some sort of adjustments, shaving down the crown here and there, checking the space between the teeth, checking the bite, etc. All of this is standard. The main thing we used is called articulating paper. When the patient bites down on it, we can see the heavy blue markings where the bite needs to be adjusted. The more we adjust, the lighter those marks get, and even stop marking the paper altogether sometimes. Most exchanges with the patients are like this. How does it feel? It's a little high. Okay, we will adjust that. We then use the articulating paper, we grind the crown down a little, and then we ask, how does it feel now? We do that until the patient has a comfortable bite, so when they close their mouth, it doesn't bug them. This takes maybe 5 minutes, at most. So the lady we had tonight was having none of it. We would ask, how does it feel? And Karen would say, ugh, it's way off. Okay, we'll adjust it. How does it feel now? And Karen would say, the same. Really? No change? She would keep repeating the same, and we would adjust more. We did this for maybe 5 more minutes, over and over, and she kept insisting that it was exactly the same, even though the marks were gone at this point, meaning that her teeth were no longer even touching the crown. At this point, we had a couple of options, which the doctor presented to her. Doctor says, okay, well, I can keep adjusting the crown. The only issue is if I keep reducing the porcelain on top, the metal underneath might end up showing. Are you okay with that? Karen says no. The doctor then says we need to make small adjustments to the tooth above this one so they don't touch. It's very superficial. Karen then screamed, no, do not touch my other teeth. If you guys did it correctly the first time, you wouldn't have to adjust it at all. I'm 1 step away from not even paying for this work done. How can you not get it right? I told her, ma'am, we do this for everyone. The lab almost never makes them perfect. We either have to adjust the crown itself or the opposing teeth. And Karen says, no, you screwed up. I told her we'll have to adjust one or the other. Which one would you prefer? Do you want the metal showing? And she screams no, so we can polish the opposing tooth. She again screams no, it's going to harm my teeth. Now, at this point, the doctor suggested getting the office manager to talk to Karen. Our office manager is an awesome lady. She's old, doesn't give a care in the world, and is 2 years away from retirement. I told her the situation and she laughed and said, okay, let's make her wait another month. I don't give a damn. So she marched right in there and said, Okay, ma'am, since you don't want this crown, we'll send it back to the lab and have them redo it. So instead of just waiting 60 seconds for us to adjust, she now has to wait 3 weeks for it to come in again. And that's just to re-prep the tooth. Then she has to wait another 3 weeks for the crown to come back again. I've been working as a dental assistant for almost a decade now, and I've never had an exchange like that. It was so bizarre. I straight up think she was either lying to our faces to get free work done, which never happens, or she's just crazy. It makes zero sense. Does that really happen though? Do people really complain about like dentists doing their job wrong and then get free work done? I'd really love to know. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our slash entitled people. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for future stories. Oh, and if you missed the last episode of our slash entitled people, a Karen freaks out because a sandwich place ran out of meatballs. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.